There's so many not there. Check them. Not today. Good evening. I'd like to call this village board meeting to order. It is 7:40. Has this meeting been posted notice?
The meeting has been posted and noticed according to law.
It looks like all trustees are present. I have two reminders before we start with the first agenda item. One is to please speak into the microphones, both the public and the village board members, so that the videotape will pick up your verbal cues. And the second is to remind the public and the board, all questions and comments must be relative to village business and should be directed to the chair and or the floor, not to citizens or each other. With that, we will take up our first agenda item, which is a special order of business, 4A, to provide an update on the TMDL Stormwater Management Plan progress. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all. Happy fall, I think.
Happy fall.
So, as you know, we've been working on the village-wide TMDL compliance.
Can you just announce your name?
Of course. My name is Mustafa Emir. I'm with Clark Deeds engineering firm, performing the TMDL compliance plan for the village. Just as a quick summary, and then I'm going to hand off to Brandon, and he will walk you through our work so far and next steps. The federal government has issued standards for water quality for Milwaukee rivers, as well as Kinnickinnick and Menominee finally. And they have been approved and official. Our state now has to work the standards through our own permitting process and bring that down to local level, which we expect to happen in the coming months. And by the time that happens, we hope to have all our ducks in a row so that we are on our way for compliance. Brandon?
Thanks, Bruce. My name is Brandon Flucker, and I work with Clark Deeds with Mustafa. So our plan that we put together, again, as Mustafa says, updating the stormwater management plan. The guiding statement behind all of this is, swimmable, fishable rivers, and people enjoying them. That's, one of the ultimate goals of all of this. So as Mustafa was talking about, a little background on this, 2008, March of 2018, the US EPA approved the sediment loading restrictions that was created by the Wisconsin DNR within the Milwaukee River Basin. And the sediment loading restrictions, are also called TMDL, or total maximum daily loads. In June of 2018, the Wisconsin Pollution Detection and Elimination System permit expired for the village, and it's currently just being used continually as it was stated when it was written in 2014. That's what the DNR is currently working on to include those TMDLs as part of the compliance with that. The Shorewood is part of the North Shore group along with 6 other municipalities that subscribe to the same standards that's within that permit. So in 2017, the village applied and was awarded a grant for 50% cost share of this stormwater management plan update to make sure that the village was ready for these compliance measures that will be upcoming. So the 7 different permit compliance measures are shown on the slide here. I won't read them all. I just want to focus today on pollution prevention. and the TMDL compliance. So as part of that TMDL allocation requirements, the village is required to control their sediment loading to the river by a 58% reduction from a no controls condition. And as part of our update, we've been doing some modeling to all the village practices, and currently we're at an 18% reduction as compared to the no controls condition. Here's an example of what our models look like. Input areas are, the inputs are the land use areas within the village, rainfall data, as well as the practices that the village has for TMDL reductions. And then it gives us the suspended salad reductions and total phosphorus reductions. Here's an example, or the map that we use of the land uses within the village. As you can see, we're only modeling half of the village, as that's the part that drains to the Milwaukee River. The other part is the combined sewer that both sanitary and stormwater flow together down to the Jones Island and treated by MSD. So the existing housekeeping practices that the village subscribes to are street sweeping, the catch basin cleaning, and leaf collection. The street sweeping and catch basin cleaning are items that we can include in our model. Unfortunately, the leaf collection is not able to be put into the model, but the DNR is currently working on some research for that.
Do you mean the vacuum, the leaf vacuum, or the?
No, just leaf collection, like the bagged leaves that get put on the side of the curb that are picked up.
Or vacuum?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And that's part of the street sweeping as the vacuum goes by. So as part of the street sweeping, the village currently shares a sweeper with the village of Whitefish Bay, and they get it 2 weeks of every month, and they're able to sweep each street once during that month. So as you can see, the current village practice, the frequency of once every 4 weeks gets us a 14% reduction, and if that was to be increased, you can recognize the different percent reductions associated with different frequencies.
Trustee Warren has a question.
I thought that we swept a little more frequently than once per month per street. I thought it was.
No, that is correct.
That is correct.
So, Leanne, I'm getting confused too. There's a street sweeper and a street vacuum?
No, there's a street sweeper
Okay.
and there's a leaf vacuum.
Oh,
leaf
leaf
vacuum.
vacuum is what I'm thinking of then.
And the leaf vacuum is more frequent, but in a shorter, not throughout the whole year.
Correct.
That's what you're thinking of.
That's what
where I
I'm
got
thinking.
And the leaf vacuum is not included in this analysis because it's.
Correct. It's not able to be
Okay,
included in the
thank you.
model, but
Trustee Maher?
So you get down to no controls. How do we do have control?
no, of course.
You back those up, the model backs those up.
Right, it just looks at strictly what the land use is, and then you can include the controls on top of that. So, that's the DNR guidance that we're following with our model. So, I'm sorry.
I just have
State
a
your
question.
name.
Oh, Don Pollock, 4395 on Delphi. I just have a question. We have adopt a sewer. There's a program that's being promoted that people clean, the sewer on their street, in addition to the sweeper coming.
Sure,
So do you factor that in at all?
that's great information. I was not aware of that. We could factor that in, but we'd have to add it into the model,
I mean,
to be able to.
If it was, and I think if it was a mandatory program, I don't know if it's mandatory, I'd have to be.
I think that would probably be quite difficult to model just
It's a
because
volunteer.
of,
Yeah,
and it's not every catch basin. Typically what we're looking at when we're talking about really removing suspended solids is the material that's in the sump portion of the catch basin, so what's collected underneath before we flow. A lot of the work that you're doing is removing the debris off the top to keep those drains clear and flowing.
Yeah.
So that's more of a, you're getting dual benefits there, but the model, I think it'd be very difficult to model because it's not consistently applied at every catch basin.
So the sweeper just sweeps, or does it suck?
It's vacuum assisted sweeper.
Okay.
So it
But it
does,
doesn't suck the drains, the
No.
sewers.
Correct.
the sweeper just pulls material out of the street and out of the curb and gutter line.
Okay.
Our crews use the big camel, the big one that's generally in the 4th of July parade, the back truck, and so that actually has a vacuum. And that cleans the inlets and the catch basins.
Thank you.
That's one thing I didn't have a slide for was the catch basin cleaning. You know, obviously, so 14% is realized from the street sweeping, but the other additional 4% is by the catch basin cleaning and other improvements. So beyond those housekeeping practices, you know, other opportunities for installed stormwater management may not be obvious. The village is 100% developed, so there's not a lot of room for giant stormwater ponds to help reduce those the sediment loads. But the village does continue to evaluate all the projects that they do for pollution prevention and stormwater management. You know, one example is Wilson Drive. You know, as you drive down there, you can see all the biofiltration swales along the road that aren't just strictly catch basins. That, you know, they're using green infrastructure to help reduce those sediment loads. And those have not been put into the model currently. So, you know, moving forward, we'll continue to look for practical and economical solutions towards compliance. So I just wanted to touch on the green infrastructure, you know, practical and economical side. There's been a lot of emphasis on green infrastructure and, you know, mimicking the natural water cycle for water quality benefits and pollution reduction. You know, compared to hard infrastructure, maintenance of them is definitely required to keep them functioning properly. You know, biofilters required, plant maintenance, weeding, trash removal, soil, turning over the soil and making sure that it's not clogging or it's allowing water to infiltrate them. And again, permeable pavement, like you see over on Kensington or in the alley, you know, that requires vacuum sweeping annually so that doesn't get clogged either and keeps functioning properly. And then, you know, another approach to suspended solids is through development and redevelopment opportunities with their runoff controls. So current ordinance subscribes to MMSD's Chapter 13 Stormwater Management Rules and Regulations, which was just recently updated. Any development or redevelopment area that's 5,000 square feet or greater or less than half acre is they're required to use green infrastructure to capture the first half-inch of rainfall from it. You know, above a half of an acre, there's other regulations that are required. This is new to that ordinance. And then again, the village ordinance for sediment reduction requires any developed area to have 40% TSS reduction included in its design. You know, so the ultimate goal, obviously, of all of these different practices and options to do this is to help delist the Milwaukee River from the impaired water bodies. So that's why the TMDL was created, and that's why we're talking about stormwater right now. You know, along with 6 other municipalities, you know, the village, they face the exact same challenges that the village is going to face with, you know, 40% reduction. You know, other villages are a little less developed and they have other practices in place, so they might not face the same exact challenges. But in the Whitefish Bay, they have a bunch of area that's close to the river, and they're going to have to reduce sediment as well. So, you know, as we get deeper into this uncharted area of TMDLs and compliance, you know, there might be opportunities for the North Shore communities to work together to help achieve these reduction goals. And then just some final thoughts. The WPDS permit that's governed by the NR 216, the next 5 years is going to be a mix of familiar with everything that the village is currently doing with all the public education and outreach. But also, there's going to be some uncharted territory with new technologies that we don't know about yet that are going to help us reduce these sediment loads to the river. This might seem daunting, but again, there's 6 other municipalities that have to do this as well. So proactively planning for green infrastructure and maintenance of them is going to help keep the village ahead of the curve. And it's good. We're going to see stormwater management practices become more prevalent all around.
Can you speak a little more loudly?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Into the microphone, sorry. A little bit.
But that was the end of my presentation. If you have any questions.
Trustee Martin.
This is a plan, but what stage where do we go from here? What's the next? Are you going to have recommendations?
Correct, yeah, so that's part of it. I don't want to get into, a bunch of recommendations. We'll have a final presentation after the entire report's done. But this is just kind of enough to give you a feel for what we're looking at, what we're thinking about, to help you think about it too for the future.
Two questions. Are there different engineers working with the other 6 municipalities, or is there some synergy between?
Yeah, each municipality has their own engineers that have helped them. I know Whitefish Bay has updated their plan already, and I believe Fox Point has as well. But Glendale, we're working on our Hills' management plan update, and Glendale has not done theirs yet. We have a pilot program with them to do the same thing.
And second, Dan, I thought, was this one of those things that the communities were talking about, the very, sort of sharing the load on this? Yeah, you may recall that MMSD, you recently approved an intergovernmental agreement with MMSD that would allow any communities who sign on to that agreement to share or claim credit for district infrastructure projects that reduce TMDL.
But not each other, it's just districts.
For now, that is just districts.
The MMSD.
There has been some talk about trading, if you will, because certain communities, for example, Fox Point, their drainage is, if not all, primarily all through ditch. So there's really, Mother Nature takes care of sediment removal for them. So they basically are in compliance currently with the TMDL regulations. But they're, you've heard talk of pollutant trading in other more industrial type arenas and venues. There's been some discussion about how we could perhaps look at some type of a similar program, but it's just in infancy right now.
I think just to make the question, the same question was, the impetus of the question is it allowed? Can we trade? So if there's open land for detention ponds or these big ponds that we don't have, and when we talked about, even at Wilson Drive, when that river basin was, you couldn't put more detention ponds or whatever it was because it was already at maximum. We've reached our level of pollution reduction.
That'll be a topic of discussion that will evolve over this next permit cycle and certainly the following permit cycle.
So is it allowed currently? Like that we could?
There's no formal structure in place for that currently.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Warren.
So I just want to drill down on Trustee Mauer's question quickly, just so I have it straight in my head. So it looks like we have 5 years to for NR 216 compliance, so we have a long time horizon, but the next steps are to come back with a report and a plan. I'm just wondering what the specific timeline is on that. I know that's the next step, but I want to know. It seems like it would be better to kind of move along this route.
Sure.
Can I just to clarify that, Our WPDES permit, I think this was our third permit that just expired, our fourth permit. So those are issued in 5-year cycles.
Okay.
Everything that we have been told in municipalities is that that DNR will be looking for municipalities to take steps toward compliance. But they have indicated to us that there would not be hard and fast, within 5 years, you have to achieve this final number. They may step it in or phase it in so that, over this next 5-year permit, you have to achieve a percentage reduction, but not the whole. They've been promising us this new permit for like 2 years. So we just don't, we don't know what it's going to do, but they have assured us that we don't have 5 years to reduce it by 40%. It'll be a longer time frame.
So path to compliance.
Yes, that's the exact phrase we've been using.
So for trustee Warren's question of when should we expect some draft recommendations, since they're not going to come incrementally, you're going to give them to us all at once, is that correct?
So there'll be a plan document that we will deliver to you within, for sure, the next 6 months. And then the intent is that in the DPW work plan, we have review and some further analysis on those recommendations through 2020 so that we can, if appropriate, start to include them in long-range planning beginning in 2021.
We'd really like to have the new permit before we put everything into that update document, so we know exactly what we need to be striving for.
And will that include any listing projects, any proposed projects, to take credit for them?
Not likely, because we don't have a full understanding at this point of, when they budget like we do, it's an annual cycle, they can have things identified in their capital plan, but that's not a guarantee that they'll be built. Right.
So it's the same.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I really appreciate it. We'll see you back in 6 months.
Hopefully. And thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, our next agenda item, for 1 second, is citizens speakers. This item is for matters that are not on the agenda. If you have any matter you'd like to speak with about that's on the agenda, please step up to the microphone and state your name and address. Andy, you ready today? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? And then any recommended readings?
Second.
So trustee Bachers moves, trustee Maher seconds. Any items to be removed? Trustee Mento?
I'd like to remove C, D, and E, and I just have very quick questions on those, and
Oh, C, D, and E?
C, D, E, and F.
Okay, I'd like to remove A and B, which leaves G. Anybody? Oh, is there an H? G and H, anybody? Once, twice, okay. So we take a vote on that. So now we'll take a vote on the consent agenda with the items A through F removed. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll now take 6A, accept presentation of accounts, September 3rd, 2019. I just have 2 questions, unless anyone else has questions to start. Okay. Just in manager's section, there's a computer and printer equipment replacement, and it's $9,400.
That was the total of our computer replacements that were budgeted for this year. So we had,
I was just looking at the computer, the IT thing.
yeah, I apologize, forget the number off the top of my head, but it included police, public works, and then the top replacements.
Okay, so it's more than just one time. Okay.
Yes, yep. We budget for all computer replacements through the village manager's budget.
Excellent, thank you. That's all I had. So if there are no other questions.
I move acceptance of presentation of accounts dated September 3rd, 2019.
I have a motion by trustee Maher, a second by trustee Bachers. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll now take up item 6E, consider committee of the whole village board meeting minutes August 5th, 2019. Trustee, did you pull these? I did, okay, there's
I have a correction.
okay, I just wanted to mention for, under item, okay, so the minutes of August 5th, yes, for the village board meeting. Do we have to approve them separately or no? Okay, so it's 4B, and it paraphrases, it just takes the memo and puts down what was in the memo, the language, and we had talked once before about just including the minutes, what verbally was said. You can keep that practice, I don't know how others feel, but rather, we have a memo, but the minutes are really what was said verbally. Anyone?
I agree. Yeah, I didn't understand why the memo verbatim was included in the minutes.
Okay. And then my only other question was, on 4B, if you go to the page 3, all the way down to the bottom, the last sentence before you get to 2, Roman numeral 2, it says, once the final approved terms are approved by the board, they will then be presented for consideration to the board and NSFD. Once joint approval is reached, the deed restriction will be recorded. And then if you flip the page on 4, there's like 3 paragraphs address the same thing. And on page 4, it says, the CSM, blah, blah, blah. We get, the attorney says we shouldn't record it until we know the sale's going forward. And then in 5, it says the deed restriction will be forwarded to the North Shore Board for approval. Additionally, the approval is contingent upon the closing. So I got confused on what was said of when we recorded that deed. I don't remember if it just changed throughout the conversation or.
So it's the question, what exactly was said when? I can tell you what the intent was. The intent was to send it to North Shore Fire Department for their approval of conceptually, the approval of the language. And then once the closing date was confirmed, that there was absolutely going to be a transfer, then we would record the document, we would record the deed restriction as part of that process or in advance of closing, so that the actual property was transferred, subject to the deed restriction. So
I think that's what the motion says.
Yeah.
It just was quoted differently throughout. So I think the motion says approval is contingent upon a real estate closing.
Right, when there's a date confirmed, then we just record the document.
Okay. As long as, I don't know if it needs to be changed, but it's a little confusing here in the minutes.
So the filing is contingent?
I don't know.
As long
That's
as
the motion.
Yeah, I mean, that was understood to be the direction that was given staff. Unless you want to clarify that further, you can.
Trustee Marty doesn't need more. Make sure he's finished.
No, I do not.
Okay. Trustee Carpenter, then Warren, then Mendel.
I just have a question about the process. So on page 6, it talks about some village board members question in a couple of different places. One village board member, are we not saying who?
I'm going to make that a future agenda item tonight.
Okay.
I'm going to ask
I
you.
never really have.
Oh, really?
It was a discussion before your time.
Okay.
And so that exact question, I'm going to ask for it to be a future agenda item.
I just have one very, very small nitpick on page 5.
Trustee Warren?
Oh, sorry, wouldn't recognize. Parties, Trustee Warren, second line, that if both parties do not agree in section 5, the due process will be followed. I don't think it was so much due process, it was the process outlined in the agreement. So I'm just making that change from due process.
Trustee Mata?
On the bottom of page 4, the last sentence, Ms. He will explain the fire department should be proposing rather than purposing. On page 5, the second paragraph, one of the village board members questions since the deed restrictions review after causality of destruction to routes. I don't know what that means. So I can't give a suggested edit because I don't understand it. And then on page 6,
Should we So we can adopt this, should we cross it out, or should we?
You want me to
Make a
take it out unless somebody understands what it means?
Should we defer these? I don't
Yeah.
know if you're talking about removing whole pages and stuff.
No, I'm not talking about removing that whole
Oh, I
page.
thought there was some.
If you understand what
discussion.
this means, since the deed restrictions review after causality of destruction to routes, if you understand and clarify, that's great.
Or we could take it out, or we can defer, those are the three choices.
I think earlier there was a comment about removing all the text of the there, but there's some other text in here than just Nathan's memo. So I'm wondering if we should have them totally redo based on comments and then look at the minutes.
I would support that.
To bring it back next meeting.
Yeah, I think.
Do you want to finish with
Yeah, and then
questions?
the only other one I had on page 6, about 10 lines down, one village board member suggested to memorialize that the process and procedure for interim patching is still being investigated. And I did go back and look at the tape, and that was a comment made by trustee Warren, and it was looking at alternatives and interim solutions. So I would say one village board member suggested, and we were here talking about amendments to something to be included in the long-range financial plan, that we are looking at alternatives and interim solutions. And that's the only other change I have.
Does anyone else have any suggestions for change before we defer the item? No. Seeing none, do we have a motion to defer the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by trustee Warren, a second by trustee Maher. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried, 7-0. The next item for discussion is 6. C, consider RFP for IT services.
I just wanted to mention that JP and I already discussed a trustee participating in the selection process, and I understand we wouldn't include that in the RFP, but I did just want to make mention that we felt trustee Maher would be the appropriate trustee to participate in the selection process.
Thank you, and I've heard this did go to budget and finance, didn't it? It did.
I forget which committee it went to, but I remember.
It did. and I
It was
think
JPNO.
It was a 3-0 vote. Or JP now? Okay. We can just move that. We're used to this eventually. And I wanted to make a comment on the IT, just somewhere in here, we had talked about previously, or 2 years ago, that when we have an IT process that's new, like open records and finding emails on our system, that was just the example given, but if we could document that, so have our, somewhere in the RFP know if there's a new process, a new IT process, that it's documented. I don't know if that belongs in the RFP. I see it's very detailed on.
That'd be in the scope of services with the service agreement.
Okay, but the scope of services is based on what goes out in the RFP, correct? Because it talks about other,
But I can include that in the
other
service
things that they're
agreement.
responding to, right? For costs and stuff like that.
Correct, I can include that in the service agreement.
It's not a selection criteria, but it would be terms and conditions. There was some place in here in the RFP that talks about things that they were being requested to do.
Like if you want to amend it and include it under project scope,
Yes.
under task 1, if you wanted to create
Yes.
another like E with that statement,
That would be great.
I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any objections to that, or am I understanding? All right, that was all I had. Anybody else have any questions before we approve that?
I move approval of the RFP for IT services with the amendment to the addition of task 1 and E on the project scope.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by trustee Maher, a second by trustee Amenta. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. The next item on our agenda is 6D. Consider RFP for agenda management. Trustee Amenta.
A similar issue, I don't believe at committee we discussed a trustee participating in this RFP. I would, did we discuss?
We did.
I did.
Okay, I mean, I would volunteer to. I volunteer to be on the, but if somebody else wants to experience, I'm fine to have someone else do it.
And from this point forward, whenever we talk about items that went to committee, I'm just gonna ask, if it's okay with the board, and ask the chair just to give us a summary of what was, whether it was moved for approval or not, and then we can go into it, so.
Yep.
Trustee Carpenter.
Yeah, we unanimously moved it forward to the full board. I don't have a recollection of discussing that, but I know we talked about having something, but I don't know that we.
I don't remember either, but that was, but I'm glad you did
That
that.
is a great pass.
Okay, signed to trustee Menta. Anything else? If not,
I'll move approval of RP for agenda management.
Second.
motion to approve by trustee Menta, seconded by trustee Maher. All those in favor, say aye. Motion, those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. The next item is 6E, consider the RP for village attorney and village prosecutor services. This went to public safety. Trustee Warren. A quick synopsis, 2 reasons.
Sure. It was a little while ago, but we considered this RFP. We were comfortable with it. It was moved forward, I believe unanimously by the participants. One thing we did mention is here is the possibility of splitting out the village attorney services and prosecutorial services. Traditionally, those have been brought together. We discussed splitting them out and figuring out if there were any efficiencies to be had there, or maybe down the line, figuring out if we could take advantage of efficiencies by splitting them. So all in all, move forward with approval from the participants.
And do you remember what trustee is going to be on the, I know that I requested to be on the panel, are you?
Debbie.
And trustee?
That was my question, of who was participating on the panel.
Okay.
I'll move approval of RFP for village attorney and village prosecutor services.
Second.
So we have a motion by trustee Menta, second by trustee Backhorst. All those in favor?
No, I didn't.
No? Carpenter. Oh, sorry, Carpenter. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. The next item on our agenda is 6F, consider agreement for final design of phase 2B. Trustee Menta. Where did this go to in committee? Public safety? No, it goes straight to village board? Straight to village board. Okay,
Yeah,
so then go.
My issue with this is that I would like to have a clearer expression of the scope of work within these contracts, because I think we got into trouble the last time around of not having a clear understanding of what was included in the scope and what wasn't, and then the scope kind of changed and moved around, and we, anyway, I did look back at what was presented, well, actually July 15th, we kind of cut off the presentation, but I did look back at the materials that were given to us. We do have a site plan with a number of spots. I guess what I would like is to get an explanation from Riley, not in, this much for paint and this much for electrical and this much plumbing, but we are going to refurbish the garage such that it is usable for the police department, and this is going to include HVAC, full climate control, all drainage, blah, blah, blah. So I have something to know what it is that the scope of work is, because I don't want to be in a position in a couple of months of Riley coming in and saying, oh, well, we never included that, that wasn't it. We've never seen a scope of what the project is. I mean, I think we all kind of know, yeah, we want to have a garage that the chief can use for 13 vehicles, but.
Well, I didn't know it was 13, but.
Yeah, we discussed the 13,
Yeah.
and we did approve that. I mean, we did approve 13, and we did have a layout. But I mean, I would just like to know with these type of construction manager, where we're using a construction manager, that we have some expression of what the entire, in layman's terms, what the scope of work is.
And just to be clear, I don't know whether you were here, I think you were, but this has been requested multiple times at every stage that we see the fire station or the police station. One example I can 100% concur, and I always have, because I don't know how to read this scope that Riley presents. It's just talks about water, and it's like, well, did that include the roof? Did that include the community room? It's not specific enough for us to understand what the actual scope of work is. One example that might be helpful is the fire station, I think, that was broken down more compartmentally, like by room or by task. And so if it is a concrete number, then it's concrete by task. So it would be like in the garage or in the bathroom, or So anyways, that would be one example just to look for. This has always been confusing. I think we've seen it probably 12 times now, throughout the process, and we still haven't gotten a really good handle on how to present a construction.
I think we're assuming there is going to be a usable, functional garage in every way for the police department, but I mean, it doesn't say that anywhere. We're just kind of assuming that that's what we're going to get at the end of this project, and I just feel like, given what we've gone through, I would like to have something in clear layman's terms of what it is they are doing for us and what we can expect at the end of construction.
For example, like the community, for example, when we had this, if the scope said there was going to be a bathroom in the community room from day one, when the bathroom disappears, then you know that that was taken out, and you can see what changed in your project scope. Right now, it just says like 2 toilets, I'm saying, just don't know, and then, did it include the roof? Did it include the HVAC, and which parts of the HVAC? And so I know this has been a very complicated project, and it's just very helpful, because we are over our original budget. It's helpful if it's broken down by component or room or task. Trustee Warren.
So kind of just trying to put my arms around the whole thing, is the ask here that we have a little more narrative around, they provide a lot of figures, a lot of numbers, but maybe a little more narrative around what they're actually doing.
Like a room, so for instance, we've said it all along, like the investigation room. So instead of just saying doors and frames and giving a number for the entire project, we could say 4 doors, 3 frames, 1 toilet, 5 cabinets, 20,000 square feet of concrete, and then when that room shrinks in the next phase, you'll know it has less concrete, this expanded. The scope of the actual project is different. Is that?
Yeah, that answers my question. Rebecca, is that just kind of thinking through? Rebecca, is that something that we could go back to them and just ask, could you put some flesh on these bones for us, in order so that we have kind of a document that we can look at?
Sure, they provide, page 135 of the packet, there's an itemized list by item, demolition, masonry, structural steel, carpentry, so that identifies those items, but I think it's, what I'm hearing is a narrative description of what
It
that.
doesn't have to be narrative. The fire station was a chart just like this. It just said, the breakout rooms, and it would do the same elements that you see here, but for each component. So the community room, like if you started, it would say 28,000 for concrete, and then the other 12,000 would be fine for concrete in a different section of that project.
We only have one room, in essence, I think you can hear, because it's the garage space. So I don't see that it would be an issue for them to describe what they're doing with these materials in that room. Chief, do you have any? Is he here? He's here, yeah. Oh, okay.
The timeline in here, they have create scope narratives start tomorrow and end October 10th. Construction drawings start tomorrow. So in the next month, they plan to do the details of what the project's going to be. And that's why we're paying part of it, is for them to do the narratives and the drawings.
I mean, the way they've done it before is it's not a script like, did you understand? It's like here's our big electricians, and, it's all, I mean, I know it makes sense to them, but to us and to other, and I mean, it's not, it was more of an issue with where there were a number of different functions, but I mean, we were just talking about a garage, but I would like something saying it's a fully functioning, usable space for 13 police vehicles, including flooring, drainage, HVAC, painting, so we're not at the end of the process and they say, well, painting was never included. Like, how are we supposed to know that painting was included or not included from, X number of gallons of paint? It's presented, the information is presented to us in a way that we really cannot interpret and understand what the scope of the project is. So, I mean, I'm fine voting for it tonight, but I would like something describing in layman's terms what we are getting for the $750,000, what we're going to have at the end.
So the chart shows, I see the diagram shows, I think 13 spaces, is that correct?
Yeah.
But how much concrete is going for, or as, is going towards those spaces compared to, is there a bathroom, is there, because if you change the number of concrete, I have no idea where they took or minus that concrete, or, it's happened prior on this project, so that's why I think it's a little confusing. Trustee Warren.
And I was gonna say, just kind of building off points made by Trustee Mauer, Trustee Menta, President was like, maybe it's something where I understand they have a tight timeline here, we don't want to delay that timeline. But perhaps we ask them to prioritize putting together a narrative and having something better by our next meeting, just so we have something that we can point back at, or look at it and understand where they're going with this.
Yeah, I'd like them just to come back with something that is, not in this particular format, that's in a more generic layman's format, so we understand what it is we're buying. Rather than, $100,000, $200 for HVAC, So anyway, I'm fine moving approval and voting for it and letting them move forward, but I would like to get that piece of information.
And could you also, for general conditions and any type of soft services, if you could just put a percentage, I know it's like, sometimes they use 4% as the general conditions. I probably could calculate it out from the cost versus the higher cost, but it's easier when you just have it right there so you can compare it over time. If it went down. Anything?
Second.
Trustee McKay, I apologize.
I was just gonna make a motion, I don't know if were you making a motion?
No,
I move to approve the $61,000 to complete the final design documents for Phase 2B for the attached contract and direct staff to convey additional requests for board discussion this evening.
I'll second that.
So just to be clear, I was under the impression we were going to wait for the narrative. Is that, just from Trustee Warren, that was not what you were requesting,
No,
correct?
I'm okay with approving it tonight and then coming back.
Coming back with the narrative, just so we have concrete. Okay, so we have a motion by Trustee McKay, a second by Trustee Warren. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. The next item on our agenda is 6. Item 8, we're done with the consent agenda. So item 8, public hearing. Today there is none. So we move on to agenda item 9, new business. 9A, consider application for Class B intoxicating liquor and beer for Toro Taco LLC, Taco Super, 4144 North Oakland Avenue, Shorewood, Wisconsin, 53211. This is the second meeting. The first was in committee. So which committee did this go? JP&L. Trustee Carpenter. Just a quick summary and a vote.
So we all felt comfortable moving forward with the liquor license for Toro Taco. We were excited to see somebody else moving into that space. It's a different concept, it's owned by the Valley Group, but a different concept, more of a quick service concept. And
breakfast?
yes, they will be serving breakfast, burritos, tacos.
I think those are 3-0 move forward.
Yes, it was 3-0 move it forward.
Okay. Trustee McKay.
I would like to support this and make a motion to approve the special event permit. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Did we already do that?
No, not yet.
I would like to make a motion to approve this liquor license.
She's supporting it.
I am supporting it, but I can't find the motion.
Oh,
Hold on.
oh, hello.
I move to approve the application for Class B license for Toro Taco Incorporated doing business as Taco Super, 4144 North Oakland Avenue, Shorewood, Wisconsin, 53211, and direct the clerk to issue the license upon approval of occupancy with plan development.
Second. Okay, so we have a motion